All right, welcome to the Young Turks. I'm your host, Jake. I feel like I was doing this a second ago. We're right back. 24 hours later, I take it, but it doesn't feel like it. Anyway, guess what kind of show we have for you guys? Wait a minute, how did you know it's gonna be a gigantic one? How did you know it's going to be an awesome one? So later in the program, and when Naging, no, I don't know if he's gonna tweet it. Later in the program, Afghanistan. I wanna break it all down for you. Trump's got a plan, don't worry. Now it's secret, but I found out what it is, so I will share it with you. So does CNN and many others, but it's secret. It's secret. And who is on his side? Why did they switch? Why does the mainstream media all of a sudden love him? There's just a lot of stuff going on. And are we going to war with Pakistan? No, I hope to God not. I hope to God not, but that issue has been not war, but serious conflict with Pakistan has been raised. And then later in the second hour, there's, as usual, a ton of amazing stories, but two I wanna highlight for you guys. You see the Steve Mnuchin's wife, the Treasury Secretary's wife, bragging about all of her designer clothes and then getting in somebody's grill, saying, "Oh, we pay more taxes than you, so we've sacrificed more." Oh, we're gonna let it rip. You don't want to take an hour. All right. Furthermore, R. Kelly's sex files. How do we not label it sex files instead of the Kelly files? Anyways, his alleged sex slaves and what he does with them. Another woman has come forward saying yes, he had sex with her when she was underage. She's got the documents and the contracts to prove it. What did he put in the contracts that he made them sign? Just amazing, amazing parts of that story. But you know, that's what we do. We do an amazing story, amazing show. That's what we do. That's the Young Turks. So without further ado, and there has been significant ado, as I've told you all the things we're gonna do, let's get going. First story is about football. I know you guys tuned into this program for football news. No, this is political as well. So the Cleveland Browns earlier had passed on Colin Kaepernick because that guy takes a knee and we can't have that, that's a distraction. Well, you had no distractions last year, Browns, and you went 1-15. So I'm not sure distractions are your biggest problem. In fact, I'd try a distraction and see how it turned out. So it was preposterous that they, along with many other teams, did not sign Colin Kaepernick. So he is an interesting football player, and if you know football, you know that he is certainly among the top 96 quarterbacks in the league, meaning that he would make a roster for somebody being in their top 3 quarterbacks, even if he wasn't a starter, and certainly he would make the Browns. There was some chance I could make the Browns. Anyway, but I'm about to give them credit. Their coach, Hugh Jackson, earlier had said like, come on. Like, don't bother me with this kneeling stuff. I got football stuff to worry about. I'm not a very good coach, help me out. Okay, he didn't say that part, but he should have. Anyway, and then he got some heat for it, and he's like, okay, fine, if some people want to kneel, they're kneeling on the field anyway. Okay, he didn't say that part, he also should have said that. But I'm gonna tell you what happened last night in the Cleveland Browns-New York Giants game. And you could kind of see it in the graphic next to me. Anyway, but before we get there, I want to tell you who's encouraging them, and that's Michael Bennett. So even though Kaepernick's not in the league yet this year, others have picked up his cause, including Marshawn Lynch, who's back in the league this year. He's now a Raider, and during the national anthem, he's been taking a seat. And people are like, oh my God, Lynch is sitting. He's like, dude, I've been sitting for the last 11 years. Nobody noticed. They did some reporting on that. I'm not sure that's exactly true, but good enough. And then Michael Bennett, who is a really great defensive player for the Seahawks, was also kneeling during the anthem. And he said this. He said it would take a white player to really get things changed, because when somebody from the other side understands and they step up and speak out about it, it would change the whole conversation. Because when you bring somebody who doesn't have to be part of the conversation, making himself vulnerable in front of it, I think when that happens, things will really take a jump, okay? Is he right about that? Well, we're about to find out, because here, let's do it. We have our first white player kneeling. There you go. By the way, I don't want to just celebrate him. Let's just take a look at that picture for a little longer. 12 members of the Browns took a knee during the national anthem, and as you can see, they were huddled together, and they said they were praying during that, so that's a nice touch. And it included their running back Duke Johnson and some of their better players like Collins on defense and many others. Then it also had a number of teammates, both black and white, holding onto their shoulder pads while they were doing it. So this is as big a team statement as we have seen on this issue. And as you can see there, one of the players kneeling is a white player. I was going to say it's, as you can see, Seth DeValve, but you have no idea who Seth DeValve is. I honestly, before this, I didn't either, and I'm a huge football fan. All right, anyway, I'll look him up before the draft. So he explains, I want to take the opportunity with my teammates during the anthem to pray for our country and also to draw attention to the fact that we have work to do. Well, bless his heart. So here's what they're trying to get you to pay attention to, and if people stopped getting so fearful and lashing out at them for a second, you might realize, hey, you know what? It's a pretty fair point. So we've got a situation in America where way too many people are getting shot and killed by police when they're unarmed. Now, when Kaepernick did it, he was trying to draw attention to that as a general phenomenon and the fact that it was disproportionately African American, and that's a fact, that's a statistic. And we've talked about it on the show many times. You can choose to ignore facts, but then you really have to look in the mirror as to why you're ignoring those facts. And so, is that a legitimate issue for African Americans in this country? Of course. And so if someone is taking a stand, or in this case, kneeling to bring out an issue that should be addressed for anybody in America, what, gay, straight, white, black, well, shouldn't they get credit for that? Instead of universal disdain on the part of the owners, at least. And they keep claiming that the fans are against it. No, I'm sure that some of the fans are against it, but did you ever poll them? How about the fans that are for it? And do you have any idea which one's the majority? You have no idea. You never asked them. It's 32 incredibly rich guys who are making this decision. Those are the NFL owners. And yeah, they feel like, no, what are you talking about? America's been great to me. I've got billions of dollars that I either inherited from daddy, or some of them worked for it, etc. But it's a great mix, and some of them just kind of fell into it. They go, what, America's great. Look at this inheritance I found, and I got a football team for free. It's amazing. Why don't they love America? Well, maybe they didn't have the same experience you did, and they have this different perspective than you do. You might want to look into their perspective. You might want to respect their freedom of speech. Now, the Cleveland Browns and the other teams are not the federal government, so they don't have to respect your freedom of speech. They're a private organization. But it would be nice, it would be a good moment for the teams to go, this is what our players care about. Maybe it's important. Hey, look at that. It has a huge effect on the whole country. And it doesn't mean that you hate America or that you hate the troops. Nobody ever talked about the troops. Kaepernick never talked about the troops. They just pretended. Whenever they want an excuse to shut down something, they go, troops, troops. When we were saying that the Iraq war was a mistake, and yes, I've been on the air that long, they were saying, no, you got to support the troops. I'm like, yeah, I'm the one supporting the troops. I don't want them to die for no reason. We were right about that. Now we say we don't want our civilians to die for no reason, that we can have better police training. Oh, why do you hate the troops? What on God's green earth are you talking about? We didn't say anything about the troops. So if you say, hey, no, you're being disrespectful to the police, okay, I'm gonna call that nearly equally insane. And I'll tell you why. So you're telling me that no government official should be criticized in America? You're saying that no government body should be improved in America? No. There's the one government body that's perfect. Perfect. You don't have to touch it at all. You don't have to reform it. You don't even have to look into it. Oh my God, oh, they asked us to look into it. Oh no, you just trust big government. Right, conservatives? Oh, you want to check big government. You want to look into it in every other aspect. You claim you're for freedom of speech when there's Charlottesville rallies and people want to go get paid $20,000 to speak on college campuses, and then all of a sudden you're chanting Nemo, or whatever you're chanting. But all of a sudden when it comes to real freedom of speech, real issues, and a real big government overreaching, oh, don't put a spotlight on it. Okay, so now, and by the way, this is all a long way of saying, God bless the Cleveland Browns football players, because they came out and made a big stand here. My guess is that far from having this issue go away, this is going to get larger and larger and larger. And by the time a quarter of the league is kneeling for the national anthem, it's going to look awfully stupid that they didn't have the hero who started this in the first place in the league. So my guess is if this keeps going, by the end of the preseason, somebody's going to go, oh, what are we going to do, fire hundreds of them? All right, Cap, fine. Of course you're one of the best 96 quarterbacks in the country. Please come and save the Jacksonville Jaguars. I heard a great joke just earlier this morning. They get Blake Bortles to take care of the situation in North Korea because he could easily overthrow Kim Jong-un. Is there anyone Blake Bortles hasn't overthrown? Okay, hey, NFL owners, especially the Jaguars, and by the way, also the Browns, pick up the phone, call Kaepernick, and even if you thought, oh my God, he's going to be the only one causing problems, that issue is, and that ship is now completely sailed. So at least help your football team a little bit. And for the rest of us, yes, we are allowed to look into a government body that has guns and badges we gave them and try to improve it. That's the least we could do as Americans. Okay, how funny is that Bortles joke? JR gave it to me. I don't know where you heard it, JR, but that was
somewhere
good.
On Twitter.
Okay, all right, God bless Twitter. All right, we're moving forward. You know what other hosts do? They don't give credit to other people. They have 12 writers, they have 24 writers, and what am I giving you credit for? I came up with that Bortles joke. It's too late, right? All right, oh well.
Stepped up later and said, it wasn't even me, it was someone else.
I know, we're too goddamn honest here. Anyway, all right, we move forward. So, yesterday on the program, we told you about how the Secret Service is overstretched. In fact, their director, Randolph Tex Alice, says that 1,000 of his Secret Service agents have already tapped out on all the regular shifts and their overtime. So he needs Congress to authorize more pay, otherwise we're going to run out of Secret Service agents. Part of it is totally understandable. Donald Trump's family is a little bit larger than other families. So under Obama, they had to take care of 31 people. Under Trump, they have to take care of 42 people. Nothing you could do about that, nothing wrong with that. Now his kids are grown, so most of them are grown. So they travel for business a lot, so that adds to the expense. It's a little annoying, but not much you could do about that either. Melania has decided to stay with the younger kid in New York, at least during the school year. That creates a giant expense because then you have to secure all of Trump Tower. There is something you could do about that, but people don't want to nitpick the younger kids' schooling, etc., and I understand that. So, but then when you get into his travel costs, it's preposterous. He's gone to Mar-a-Lago 7 times because he just loves to golf and take time off. And of course, that's the thing that he criticized President Obama for. Every time he goes to Mar-a-Lago, costs taxpayers at least $3 million. So on golf cart rentals alone, that Trump is charging American taxpayers for when Secret Service have to use it to protect him at his golf course. You and I have paid $60,000 for those, just the golf carts alone. And I'm not even talking about Bedminster, where he's gone there 5 times. I'm not talking about his Virginia property, which he's gone to. All these costs are adding up, but there's another part of the story today, which is really interesting. And so Christina Wilkie broke this story. She's a reporter for Center for Public Integrity, and apparently people associated with the Secret Service reached out to her, and here's what her sources said to her. She tweets out, I also hear from multiple sources that Secret Service agents are at the end of their rope, sick of being treated like servants by Trump. Damn. She went on to say, source says, quote, Clinton treated United States Secret Service agents like friends. Bush treated them with great respect. Obama like family. Trump treats them like servants. By the way, just pause there. How realistic does that sound? And again, there's Republicans and Democrats there. So you can see Bubba palling around with the Secret Service. Now don't tell him about the girls, right? You can see how Obama would try to bring them in his family, and Bush would treat them with respect. You can totally see it. Can you not see how Trump would treat them as servants? Of course, He can't even make that distinction. So let me just finish out one more here. She says, specifically, I've been told that Trump doesn't respect their hours and shifts and expects agents to fetch things for him, both damaging morale. You think Trump is sophisticated and respectful enough to go, oh, no, this is not my errand boy. This is a professional whose job is to protect my life. I should respect his job. I should respect his hours. All right, look, for some of you, maybe you think, oh, of course, he's great, he's brought great morality to the office, not like the Obamas. I'm sure that he's, salutes the Secret Service every day and knows exactly what their jobs are. Come on. You can't even keep up that pretense. So now we have inside sources saying, no, he's ordering things with them and telling them to go fetch stuff. That's not their job. But that Trump's view of the world is, are you rich and powerful? If you are, you're a one. You exist. I will respect you. Oh, Carl Icahn, you came to rip off the government. It doesn't matter. Oh, Carl Icahn, oh, you're so rich. Oh, the generals who I insulted earlier, but oh, look at all their stars. Oh, it's getting in my eye like this solar eclipse. So those guys he respects. Everybody else, zeros. 1 or a 0, it's binary. And so, he said earlier, why would I have poor people in my government? Because the idea is they're losers. They didn't make it. They're not winners like himself, who inherited $200 million from his dad. So the Secret Service, they fall in the category of servants. You're here to serve me, whether it's to catch a bullet for me. Oh, two. Oh, the thought of anyone losing their life for Trump. That's, among the 1,000 reasons why you should never commit violence, let alone at your political opponents. Because Trump's not going to catch that bullet. That poor guy at the Secret Service, who Trump probably made him go get him a Diet Coke or something, is going to catch it. So, never, ever think about that. Anyway, so these guys have an unenviable job to begin with, and apparently Trump has made it far worse because he has no respect for anything outside of cold hard cash. And Putin. Okay. Notice how he criticizes everybody. Everybody's a baby, everybody's a loser, everybody's this and everybody's that, except when it comes to Putin. Oh, yes, Vladimir. Yes, Vladimir. Go ahead, Vladimir. Gee, I wonder why. All right, let's move forward. I wonder if he calls Vladimir daddy. Anyway, Donald Trump's doing a rally in Phoenix tonight. One of the issues that people are concerned about is he going to pardon Sheriff Joe Arpaio? Now Arpaio is a criminal and a thug. He's been convicted. He's appealing his conviction now. But apparently Trump doesn't believe in the rule of law. So if you're a criminal but you're his political ally, he's seriously considering pardoning you. And so there's a lot of drama around that. Let me fill you in on some of it. First of all, we go to The Hill. They report the president has mused publicly about pardoning Joe Arpaio, the controversial former sheriff of Maricopa County, Arizona, and an early Trump supporter who was found guilty in a Justice Department investigation of racially profiling Latinos. Arpaio was found guilty of contempt of court after he continued the practices. So it doesn't get any clearer than this. A judge said, you are not allowed to do that, you are breaking the law. And since you're the sheriff, it's even worse because you're supposed to be upholding the law, instead you're breaking it. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll break it again. I don't care about your stinking laws. What am I, a sheriff? Yes, that's actually what you were. So they found him in contempt of court and he is guilty. But Donald Trump nonetheless has said, quote, I am seriously considering a pardon for Sheriff Arpaio. He has done a lot in the fight against illegal immigration. He's a great American patriot, and I hate to see what has happened to him. So Trump says if you protest him at one of his rallies, which is something they're very concerned about in Phoenix tonight, he says, oh, take him out on a stretcher. I remember the good old days when we would do that. He encourages people to commit acts of violence in the crowd, and he says, I'll pay your legal bills. And then pretends to be for the rule of law, but when you have a lawbreaker and one that's been adjudicated as such, he goes, oh, that rule breaker, I love that guy. Rule of law, I was just kidding, that doesn't apply to my friends. Wait till you see their financial crimes. All right, Representative Ruben Gallego, who's a United States representative from Arizona, said Arpaio, quote, shouldn't be let off the hook for his crimes just so Trump can win, quote, some bonus points with his most racist supporters. And that is exactly right. And it's not surprising that after Charlottesville, Donald Trump now is holding a political rally in Phoenix, which is already insensitive enough. I mean, if Obama, within a week of an incredibly divisive moment like that, and after he'd said outrageous things about it, decided to hold a cheerleading rally for himself, imagine what conservatives would have said about it. But on top of that, he's going to sprinkle a little bit of racism in here by Arpaio was found guilty of discriminating against Latinos, and Trump's going, bravo! Bravo, way to hate on those Latinos. That's my kind of guy. Even though he's guilty, I'm thinking of pardoning him. See, gee, I wonder if that'll add to the division in Phoenix and in Arizona and in the whole country. He doesn't care. In fact, let me go further and amend that statement. He does care. He wants the division. He thrives on that division. He thinks that's how he won the election. So now we've done some original reporting on this, and Andrew Jones from TYT Politics has the story here. He, first of all, explains that the 85-year-old sentencing, that's Arpaio, is set for October 5th, and he faces up to 6 months in prison. Now, likely he won't get any prison time anyway, but he's worrying about his sterling reputation. What name so? I would love to see him go to prison in the same way that he sent all those people, the old school outfits and the pink underwear. You're gonna say, oh, Jen, come on, don't be crass, putting that poor guy in pink underwear. That's what he did to others. If you were a criminal in Maricopa County, that's what you had to wear. Sheriff Joe is an adjudicated criminal in that county. Now he's convicted at the federal level, so of course they'll treat him way more humanely than he ever treated any of his detainees. So Andrew goes on to report, since Arpaio was convicted in federal court, he would need a pardon from Trump to avoid time behind bars. So this is an issue for Trump. So can he pardon him? Well, let's go to that. In order to request a pardon officially, a convict must have spent 5 years in jail after the date of his or her sentencing before filing for clemency, according to Department of Justice pardon guidelines. What? The maximum he'd get is 6 months. He hasn't even gotten that. He's gotten the sentence. He hasn't, he's gotten the conviction. He hasn't even gotten the sentence yet, let alone serve it, let alone for 5 years. So why are we even having a discussion about pardon? Partly because Donald Trump has no idea how the laws of this country work. If he just asked one person at the White House, he would have found out what Andrew Jones found out, and we would be done with this conversation. But that's not nearly all. Look at all these requirements for pardons, none of which Sheriff Joe has met. So then the filing is delivered to the Justice Department's pardon attorney, who may take months or years to actually review a petition. No filing has ever been sent to that person. Under normal pardon petition circumstances, the Department of Justice pardon attorney would obtain clemency cases from US district attorneys who think a case merits a possible pardon. In this case, no US district attorney has asked for it. The pardon attorney would then review all petitions for executive clemency. He has not done so. Investigate the cases, not done it. And then, quote, prepares a report and recommendation for submission to the president. None of these things have happened. The conversation about a pardon for Sheriff Joe is based on pure ignorance. Yes, the president's ignorance of the facts. Andrew goes on to say that a pardon is normally granted on the basis of the petitioner's demonstrated good conduct for a sustained period of time after conviction and service of sentence, none of which have happened. He is not in jail. He didn't get to serve any time, good or otherwise, and has not earned any of that credit. In addition, a pardon petitioner should admit guilt, accept responsibility, and quote, be genuinely desirous of forgiveness rather than vindication. Well, Sheriff Joe Arpaio does not admit guilt. In fact, he's in the middle of an appeal now. This is preposterous. I've never seen a case that did not merit a pardon more than this. Partly because we can't even get to that question. There's 1,000 things that have to happen beforehand. You can't just pardon someone with a tweet. So one last set of pardon requirements. That is why it's so hard to pardon people. Do you know that Obama left 10,000 petitions for pardons on his desk when he left? Which I think is actually outrageous. But it takes so long and he didn't prioritize it, and so he left all those for Trump. You think those are gonna happen? No, if you were a guy who got busted for pot, smoking pot, you're serving a gigantic period of time because of 3 strikes or otherwise. You've already served way more than 5 years. Trump's never gonna get to you. But a political buddy of his that hasn't gone through any of the process is like, I'm thinking of pardoning him. Oh, I'm gonna pardon him right away. Here's more requirements. Consultation with relevant officials, including the prosecutor and the judge. Trump clearly has not done that. Giving victims a chance to comment on the proposed pardon. Laugh along with me. Can you imagine Trump? Well, I'd like to invite those Latinos in Maricopa County that Sheriff Joe discriminated against. Okay, so let me hear you out. Okay, consideration of the impact on victims, restitution to the criminal's victims. That I'm really looking forward to. After Sheriff Joe admits he's guilty, serves time for it, you know what? I'll forgive the 5-year rule normally. Am I not merciful? Okay, let's say you did 5 months and then you're begging for forgiveness and you go to your victims and apologize to them personally, then we'll consider your pardon. Finally, we go to Kumar Rao, who's a lawyer at the Center for Popular Democracy. He says, with thousands of legitimate petitions collecting on his desk, Trump's pardon of a political ally in Arpaio would be a disgraceful act that deeply undermines the rule of law. Apparently, Donald Trump earlier today read this article that TYT put out explaining what the rules of the pardons are, because Sarah Huckabee Sanders and others at the White House are now telling the press, okay, fine, he won't pardon Sheriff Joe tonight. Wow. In other words, it might be a mess in Phoenix, and it might really set people on edge and create emotions and be a dangerous situation if he pardons them tonight at the rally. But they specifically said he's not going to be pardoning him for today. So he's still very much considering it and has said publicly that he wants to do it without putting 1 second of thought into how a pardon actually works.
You said that before, okay. Oh, you said it right there. Saying it publicly, that's all that this is about. Remember the LGBT ban on the military? Remember the investigation into President Obama wiretapping him during the campaign and since he's been in office and all whatever else he's made up? This is another instance of, hey, let me throw some more red meat out there. I'll just say it after people keep talking about it, because the next thing I say the next 3 days is gonna take over that news cycle. People are gonna forget that last thing I just said, and all it did was galvanize this random support for stupidity amongst his base of supporters, who I think the numbers was 55% said no matter what he does, 60%, no matter what he does, they will never change their mind on what President Trump will do. Because it's things like this. In their brains, oh, he's totally gonna pardon Joe Arpaio. After it doesn't happen, they don't care. They're not thinking about Joe Arpaio. They're thinking about a way for him to have some kind of a gotcha to the establishment. And then the LGBT ban, they haven't thought about it since. They don't actually care. It's the moment of, yeah, he's a badass, do whatever he wants, rebel, sticking it to the man, and he's the man. By the way, people keep forgetting. He is the establishment. So it galvanizes these people to have their stupid support of him and put out Twitter memes or Facebook memes about how much they love him when they know he's not actually doing anything. There's no backup to any of this.
Yeah, I like the idea that 60% of them are like, no matter what he does, I'm gonna support Donald Trump. What if he comes and fucks your wife? Like, oh, no, that's fine, I'm a cuck, I'm a beta. I know it'll be a cuckastrophe, but I'll deal with it. You know, he did that in the campaign. I don't know if you remember, some guy had dressed up like him, and then he called him up on stage. He's like, oh, this is funny, I like it. Oh, I like your wife though, she looks hot. And the cucks are like, oh yes, dear leader, of course, anything you want, dear leader. Okay, and Jared's exactly right. You know, when he did that transgender military ban, and it was on Twitter, they asked the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff the next day, and he's like, there is no such order. You can't order a change at the Pentagon through a tweet. You have to go through a process. We haven't gone through that process. This thing doesn't exist. Trump didn't even ask for us to start that process. So no, they're not banned right now. Do you know that? To JR's point, did you know that the transgender folks in America are not banned from the military? It was just a stupid tweet. They never applied it. Now they might later, but they haven't yet. And so he doesn't care, doesn't know and doesn't care that he can't pardon Sheriff Joe. He's like, who cares? I'll just say it. I'll get the racists to back me. Mission accomplished, who cares about the reality? And if Sheriff Joe goes to jail later, what does he care about Sheriff Joe, right? So that's how this game is played. And if you're one of those cucks who likes this game, okay, but be careful what you wish for. He might be coming to your house next. All right, I gotta take a break and then tell you all about Afghanistan when we come back. I have decided that I'm going to get ripped. Okay.
What?
Okay.
Like, physically?
Yeah. Okay. What? You don't believe me?
I 100% don't believe you.
I will get so ripped. Here's my prediction: that someone at TYT will say, "Cenk, you've got to stop working out."
We're tired of you winning.
So you don't believe me?
Cenk, you don't have time to like do your daily duties for the main show.
Duties. You don't even have time for your daily duties. Because what you guys don't know is how great my muscles already are.
It's absolutely possible, but you can't have Leah run to the food truck to get you like 2 different types of grilled cheeses with like tater tots for lunch. Like, you can't have that anymore.
Let's see what happens.
You also have to go to the gym regularly.
Let's see what happens. All I'm saying is, let's see what happens. Have I ever been wrong about a prediction? Almost ever.
They'd rather lose to Republicans than have a progressive win with them. That's how dumb the corporate Democrats are.
It's the Democrats who lull you to sleep, and at the end of the day, they're the ones who push the right-wing agenda.
Most of the people are either unemployed, underemployed, or fucked.
This is why you lost to Trump, you fucking moron! What the fuck is wrong with you? Whoever wrote that, I'm sure they were typing with one hand and going like this with you. The Democrats are dead. The way you feel right now, that's how a chump feels. Do not freak out.
Doc, I'm telling you, the talking, this therapy, none of this is working for me.
Grace, I want to try something new with you today.
Really?
Yeah, bear with me. What do you see?
Blood.
Okay.
More blood.
Okay, good. What about this one?
Buckets of blood on the floor.
Okay.
The Zodiac Code. A disembodied head. John Wilkes Booth.
Okay.
John Wayne Gacy. A dead body. A dead body. Your dead body.
I know what you're thinking.
I love how you do something with your lips when you play the sound clips.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Look at his
I
lips.
was a woman.
No, you're closing your mouth. Usually I'll be like, and I'm like, is he like lip syncing it?
I don't know. I never noticed it until you said it.
It's a funny habit.
All right. Hey guys, how you doing? Still organizing papers. All right, here we go. Back on the Young Turks. Don't have time for tweets. We gotta go. Let's go to Afghanistan. So here's what we know about Donald Trump and his stance on Afghanistan. He is for leaving. I know that for sure because I have his tweets. So here's what he tweeted from 2011 to 2013. When will we stop wasting our money on rebuilding Afghanistan? We must rebuild our country first. Okay, then he went on to say, it's time to get out of Afghanistan. We're building roads and schools for people that hate us. It's not in our national interest. He said, China is getting minerals from Afghanistan. We are getting our troops killed by the Afghani government. Time to get out. Why are we continuing to train these Afghans who then shoot our soldiers in the back? Afghanistan is a complete waste. Time to come home. I agree with President Obama on Afghanistan. We should have a speedy withdrawal. Why should we keep wasting our money? Rebuild the US. So are you going to be surprised to find out that today we've got a speech that he gave last night actually saying, yeah, just kidding, we're staying in Afghanistan. So I'm going to break that speech down for you, so let's get started. Here is the first part.
My original instinct was to pull out. And historically, I like following my instincts. But all my life, I've heard that decisions are much different when you sit behind the desk in the Oval Office. In other words, when you're president of the United States. So I studied Afghanistan in great detail and from every conceivable angle.
No, you didn't. Don't be ridiculous. I studied 3 to 4 tweets on Afghanistan. I've got it on lockdown now. Okay, so he says he changed his mind. Okay, fair enough. And that's good. That shows that you might have an open mind. Unfortunately, this was a rare instance where he was actually right. We should have gotten out of Afghanistan. Instead, he's changed his mind to being wrong. He's amazing, man. If there's any chance that he's accidentally right, no, he will change it and go wrong again. So now let's get into the details. Go ahead.
As we know, in 2011, America hastily and mistakenly withdrew from Iraq. As a result, our hard-won gains slipped back into the hands of terrorist enemies. Our soldiers watched as cities they had fought for and bled to liberate, and were occupied by a terrorist group called ISIS. The vacuum we created by leaving too soon gave safe haven for ISIS to spread, to grow, recruit, and launch attacks. We cannot repeat in Afghanistan the mistake our leaders made in Iraq.
Why is he whispering to us? It's kind of creepy. He's reading from a prompter and he has a weird way of reading it. Anyway, so he says, no, we can't leave a vacuum. We got to finish this fight. It's a mistake we made in Iraq. It's too soon. We've been there 16 years. It's still too soon? Now, here's an amazing study that was done back in 2011. It's only gotten worse now. According to an International Council on Security and Development survey of, this is graphic 48, guys, survey 15 to 30-year-old men in Kandahar and Helmand, 92% of those interviewed were unaware of this event, which the foreigners call 9/11. Now, that's not the whole country, but that's a very important parts that we're actually doing the fighting in. And it is a younger population there, but actually 42% of the population there is under the age of 15. Isn't that amazing? 72% of rural Afghanistan is illiterate. They couldn't read about Afghanistan because they can't read. I'm sorry, well, that's true about Afghanistan too, but they can't read about 9/11, I meant. So 92% of them have no idea why we're there. To be fair to them, it's been 16 years. And so we're still fighting this endless war, and now to leave would be too soon? When is it not too soon? 26 years, 36 years? When 99% of the population of Afghanistan has no idea why we're there? Okay, so he's going to continue and try to explain.
No one denies that we have inherited a challenging and troubling situation in Afghanistan and South Asia, but we do not have the luxury of going back in time and making different or better decisions. When I became president, I was given a bad and very complex hand. but I fully knew what I was getting into. Big and intricate problems. But one way or another, these problems will be solved. I'm a problem solver. And in the end, we will win.
Come on, man. I keep telling you this. Even if you're a Donald Trump supporter, really, you believe that? I am a problem. So you haven't solved the goddamn thing yet, man. It's been 8 months. You haven't solved anything. You haven't gotten any of your priorities passed. You haven't gotten anything passed. 8 months later, you said you had a plan to defeat ISIS on day one. Here we are 8 months later, and you're announcing a no plan right now. Your big announcement is like, ta-da, I have no plan. Right? I can't tell you. Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one, but I can't tell you about it. But I'll tell you this, soon, like when I'm out of office, I'm gonna begin to figure it out. But remember, everybody, it's not my fault. I got dealt a bad hand. What could I do? Oh God, he loves to make excuses. He's such a baby. Sad. Let's keep going.
A core pillar of our new strategy is a shift from a time-based approach to one based on conditions. I've said it many times, how counterproductive it is for the United States to announce in advance the dates we intend to begin or end military options. We will not talk about numbers of troops or our plans for further military activities. Conditions on the ground, not arbitrary timetables, will guide our strategy from now on. America's enemies must never know our plans or believe they can wait us out. I will not say when we are going to attack, but attack we will.
Okay, so America's enemies plus America itself must never know our plans. I am your president in a democracy, but I shall not tell you what my plans are. Besides which, it's not even true. This is all preposterous. So he gives a speech last night, and then they leak like a sieve and tell you exactly what the plans are. So here, I'll tell you what they are. Senior administration officials told reporters that the president's new plan entailed sending approximately 4,000 troops to Afghanistan, which would bring the total presence past 12,000. But Trump did not confirm troop numbers, nor whether they would serve in an advisory or combat role. Who cares that he didn't confirm it? His advisors confirmed it. And the Pentagon confirms it. In fact, CNN has an exact number. They're gonna send 3,900 people. We cannot tell our enemies what we're gonna do in important political speeches. We have to wait and leak it a couple of hours later. Okay, here's what James Mattis says. I mean, they're so specific. He says, he's the defense secretary, of course. Several NATO allies have also committed to increasing troop numbers. So apparently we do have a plan. And he says, together we will assist the Afghan security forces to destroy the terrorist hub. One more from Madison in a second, but let's pause there to note that, yeah, of course we have to tell the world what our plan is, because there's 39 allies that we have in Afghanistan. What are you gonna be like? All right, guys, now here's the deal. Let's all huddle up. Can't tell you what we're doing, okay? You go to Kandahar, you go to Helmand, you stay in Kabul, and then, of course, you have to tell people what you're gonna do. That doesn't mean you tell them specific strategy. You're not gonna announce, hey, we're gonna attack in Kandahar in this particular area at this particular time. Of course you wouldn't say that. But that's different than having an overall vision that you lay out for the country and for your allies. And here, this was a speech about no vision, with just vague nonsense talk about, we're gonna win, I'll tell you that right now. I'm gonna figure this thing out and we are gonna win. What the hell does that mean? All right, one more quote from Mattis. It says, Afghanistan is not on the radar of the American people. If you ask people do wanna leave, they'll probably say yes, but are they going to march in the streets for it? No. In other words, that's the defense secretary going, we know you guys don't want this war, the American people. Part of the reason why we're being vague about what we're doing over there, because we know it's unpopular, but it doesn't matter. We're gonna get away with it. You're not gonna go in the streets, you're not really gonna protest us. So we're gonna keep the endless war going on and on and on. So that brings us to the threats part of Donald Trump's speech. Let's listen.
I have already lifted restrictions the previous administration placed on our warfighters that prevented the Secretary of Defense and our commanders in the field from fully and swiftly waging battle against the enemy. Micromanagement from Washington, D.C. does not win battles. They're won in the field, drawing upon the judgment and expertise of wartime commanders and frontline soldiers, acting in real time with real authority and with a clear mission to defeat the enemy. That's why we will also expand authority for American armed forces to target the terrorist and criminal networks that sow violence and chaos throughout Afghanistan. These killers need to know they have nowhere to hide, that no place is beyond the reach of American might and American arms. Retribution will be fast and powerful.
Okay, so he's saying, wow, our goal is to defeat the enemy. That does seem really clear and concise. So who's the enemy? So if you say Al-Qaeda, we beat them over a decade ago. There was almost no Al-Qaeda left in Afghanistan. By one report, there was less than 50 members of Al-Qaeda left in all of Afghanistan. We won that war and we stayed anyway. Remember, we had actually went to go after Al-Qaeda that hit us on 9/11. That made sense. We accomplished that mission over a decade ago. And then we stayed and stayed, and now we're fighting ISIS. ISIS didn't even exist when we went to war with Afghanistan. We created it in Iraq, and now we got to deal with it in Afghanistan. How's those perpetual wars turning out for us? Does it look like we're accomplishing any missions there? And then finally, then you have the Taliban, which is neither ISIS nor Al-Qaeda, it's a different group, and they control about half the country. So what are you going to do? Regain the entire country? How are you going to do that? So an analyst from Afghanistan says, and this is graphic 40, guys, Mr. Trump only emphasized winning the war militarily. But if a military solution to the war could have been possible, this should have been achieved with the presence of 150,000 troops. So think about that. It's such a great point. We already had at a different time 150,000 troops in Afghanistan, and we still couldn't regain the whole country. The Taliban still held a giant chunk of it. Now Trump is claiming that with 12,000 troops in advisory roles, we're going to somehow defeat the whole enemy and we're going to wipe them all out. Preposterous. He doesn't even believe that. He's just BSing you like he always has. One more statement of bravado here.
Ultimately, it is up to the people of Afghanistan to take ownership of their future, to govern their society, and to achieve an everlasting peace. We are a partner and a friend, but we will not dictate to the Afghan people how to live or how to govern their own complex society. We are not nation building again. We are killing terrorists.
Okay, so it's easy to say, I don't want a nation built. Okay, but as Colin Powell once famously said, if you broke it, you buy it. We went and broke Afghanistan. It was never in great shape to begin with. Let's keep it real about that. But we go in there and then we say, okay, that's right, we're gonna bring you democracy. 16 years later, now we're like, okay, screw it, we're not gonna bring you democracy and we're not gonna help you rebuild. We're just here to kill so-called terrorists. There are real terrorists in Afghanistan. And then, okay, well, how about the guys that control 60% of the country? We're gonna kill them all. Well, okay, first of all, no, you're not. We've been trying for 16 years. We tried with 150,000 troops. It didn't work. It's not gonna work. You can't kill everybody in the country. And even if you did, then what do? Like, okay, everybody, I nuked the place. Good night and good luck. What did you accomplish? What the hell is winning? Well, this is a disastrous idea. Steve Bannon was opposed to it. He's extreme right winger. I don't agree with him. But he wanted, it seemed like he wanted to get out of Afghanistan. He was opposed to the generals who wanted to put more troops in. You think, oh, okay, credit where credit is due. Wrong. The only person who had a worse idea than Donald Trump was Steve Bannon. Let me tell you about that. Bannon reportedly presented Trump with plans for billionaire Steven Feinberg to exploit Afghanistan's mineral wealth and Blackwater founder Eric Prince to use private military contractors to defeat the Taliban. Neither proposal gained support from within the Pentagon. So the only other proposal that Trump was considering was, well, maybe we just hand over the military to private mercenaries so they can make a profit off of war and bring in an American billionaire to go steal the minerals of Afghanistan. I bet they won't fight us harder then. No, we're here to steal from you. Don't worry about it, stop fighting us. See, if you don't have a real plan and these are the options that you're considering, no wonder you're not going to. They're not going to come close to winning. Don't be ridiculous. Now, luckily, they didn't go in this direction, but just putting an extra 4,000 troops isn't going to accomplish anything either. One last part of this speech here to give you a sense of all this guy knows is how to break things. He doesn't know how to put things together. Watch.
We can no longer be silent about Pakistan's safe havens for terrorist organizations, the Taliban, and other. When America commits its warriors to battle, we must ensure they have every weapon to apply swift, decisive, and overwhelming force. Our troops will fight to win. We will fight to win. From now on, victory will have a clear definition: attacking our enemies, obliterating ISIS, crushing al-Qaeda, preventing the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan, and stopping mass terror attacks against America before they emerge.
That's your definition of clear victory? We're going to obliterate ISIS altogether. We're going to eliminate al-Qaeda. We're going to make sure the Taliban can't take over any part of Afghanistan and eliminate all terrorist attacks against the United States. Do any of you believe in those fairy tales? And if you do, you know what he's telling you? We're never going to stop the war. During the campaign, when I told you I was against the war and I wanted to bring our troops home, I was lying. I never meant it. No, we're going to stay in a perpetual state of war because I just defined victory as eliminating every terrorist in the world. Of course we're not going to be able to do that. Oh, golly gee, I guess defense contractors have to keep making money in Afghanistan. And our troops have to keep getting killed there. Your taxpayer dollars have to go to that waste. And it's not 16 years, it's 26 years. It's infinite. We've always been at war. And we'll always stay at war. That's Donald Trump's new plan. And it is a disastrous one. All right, let me ask you a real quick poll question here. TYTnetwork.com/Afghanistan for this poll. Should we leave Afghanistan even if it means creating a possible vacuum for the Taliban to fill? Again, I framed it in as conservative way as I could. That's not the only option, but even if you thought the Taliban is going to fill that vacuum, are you still in favor of leaving Afghanistan? I'm curious what you guys think. That's why we're asking you. All right, I got to take a break. I got to tell you about Pakistan when we come back, and also how the media has wet themselves, going, oh, finally, more war, yes, now we love Trump. Oh, they're so annoying. All right, we'll tell you about it when we come back. right, back on the Young Turks. A quick message from YouTube Super Chat. Rel82 says, is it weird that I want Steve Bannon to get revenge on Trump? Oh, well. Not really. I mean, then Trump can get revenge on Bannon and we'll all have fun. Let's go to tweets now. Ashley B writes in, there's seriously an old Trump tweet for everything he's doing. The hypocrisy is unreal. That's now a thing, by the way. Like people quote, like that's a saying, an old Trump tweet for everything. So you're right. Jeff Anderson says, pulling out is his first instinct? Doesn't he have 5 kids from 3 wives? Trump's pullout game is weak. Jeff, that's an LOL, you get a t-shirt. So shoptyt.com. By the way, the back to school special is over. You missed out on it, sad day, you're paying full price. Just playing around with you. They're great shirts, check them out. Jeff, you get a free one. Jay says, subtext, I opened my mouth before I had any real information. Don't pay attention to any of my promises. Well, about right, okay. And I'll read one more. Jordan French says, what kind of businessman doesn't understand that timetables and projections are a basic part of any proposal/plan? That's an excellent point. As a business man myself, I can tell you that is very true. Okay, try to do something without a timetable around here and watch what Jack Gerard does to you. It's an inside baseball reference to someone who works here. All right, we're moving forward. Oh yeah. So last night, not only did Donald Trump address Afghanistan, he also addressed Pakistan. There, the situation goes from bad to potentially much, much worse. He had some tough words for Pakistan, and this one's a mixed bag. So first, let's hear him out.
We can no longer be silent about Pakistan's safe havens for terrorist organizations, the Taliban, and other groups that pose a threat to the region and beyond. Pakistan has much to gain from partnering with our effort in Afghanistan. It has much to lose by continuing to harbor criminals and terrorists. Pakistan has also sheltered the same organizations that try every single day to kill our people. We have been paying Pakistan billions and billions of dollars. At the same time, they are housing the very terrorists that we are fighting. But that will have to change, and that will change immediately. It is time for Pakistan to demonstrate its commitment to civilization, order, and to peace.
Yeah, so this one's harder because he's right about the original premise. We do give billions of dollars a year to Pakistan, and they do harbor some criminals and plenty of terrorists. And their powerful secret agency there, the ISI, that's their intelligence agency, has sheltered people like, you might remember this name, Osama bin Laden. Now they say, oh no, heavens forfend. Was bin Laden just a couple of miles from our version of West Point? Oh golly gee, we didn't notice him there. Well then I guess you're the worst intelligence agency in the world. And they also sent a lot of people across the border. So the Afghans were thrilled about this part of the speech where the president promised to get tougher on Pakistan. So I don't mind getting tougher on Pakistan for all those reasons, and that makes sense. And I think that behind the scenes, threatening to pull some of their funding and then actually pulling it is a good way of applying carrots and sticks. And in fact, James Mattis, the defense secretary, has already pulled $50 million from Pakistan based on one specific thing that they were doing, and there are many things that follow. So this is not as simple as saying, oh, Trump's a blowhard and et cetera. No, this is legitimate issues with Pakistan, which unfortunately has nuclear weapons and can be destabilized. And so some people worry about how Iran is run by radical Muslims. No, I think Iran is run by normal dictators and oligarchs. They have a very entrenched power system there where they make a lot of money off the religious lies that they tell their population and use to control them. They don't want to lose all that money. Now, you can argue about the stability of Iran, but if you're worried about the stability of Iran, you should be worried a lot more about the stability of Pakistan. Their radical Muslims, I think, have a much better chance of seizing power, and they hate India, and India also has nuclear weapons, recipe for disaster. The radical Muslims in Pakistan hate India. should be clear. And they've caused a lot of damage in Afghanistan, let alone other parts of the world, let alone theories that they might have sold some weapon technology to North Korea. So that is a hell of a problem in Pakistan. There are no easy solutions to that. And right now the Trump administration hasn't done anything wrong. And I agree with what the actions that Mattis took. Having said all that, in a very complicated, nuanced, delicate situation, who do you want to be president? If you say that hothead with the orange hair, God help you, God help us all. So whether it's North Korea or Pakistan, it takes an incredibly smart, reasoned, calm president who's going to make very important decisions that could affect the lives and perhaps the deaths of millions of people. So hope against hope that Donald Trump doesn't screw this up. So again, let's be fair, he hasn't done anything wrong yet except saying this publicly, this brazenly was probably a little over the top. I would have preferred that they do it behind the scenes and actually follow through on it, take away more money, not all of it, but to provide some leverage for us to continue to apply pressure to them. But that kind of balancing act from this president is a tall order. And so if he starts bloviating again and huffing and puffing, God knows what kind of a mess he could bring us into in Pakistan. So for me, I just rather get him out of office and let a smart president deal with it, Republican or Democrat. So I hope he never mentions Pakistan again. And I hope behind the scenes, we hold him accountable in that measured way that they've at least begun to under Defense Secretary Mattis. Not a lot of compliments I have for Mattis, but that is one of them. So for now, let's reserve judgment, but I'm a little nervous, to say the least. Okay, now, last story for you guys in this hour. So how is the press going to react to Donald Trump's new strategy in Afghanistan? Now, he claims he's not going to tell us how many troops he's sending in, but that's nonsense. We already know we know the exact number, 3,900, as CNN reported. We've told our 39 allies there's going to be 12,000 troops overall. And so we know all those details. Now, the media has been pretty tough on Trump, to be fair. They really have. But whenever it comes to war, they sing a different tune. Now, first I'm going to show you Brian Williams. This is when, not during Afghanistan, but when Trump decided to launch missiles against the Syrian government. Here's what Brian Williams had to say.
We see these beautiful pictures at night from the decks of these two US Navy vessels in the Eastern Mediterranean. I am tempted to quote the great Leonard Cohen, I'm guided by the beauty of our weapons. And they are beautiful pictures of fearsome armaments making what is for them a brief flight over to this airfield. What did they hit?
So even his guests had to remind him, you know that when they land, they kill people. So take it easy with all the talk of the beautiful weapons. And at the time, oh my God, the press turned on a dime and they all went and said, oh, yes, this is the moment he became president. More war, yes. So how will they react this time? Well, it's not as universal as it was during the attack against the Syrian government, but there are definitely those in the press who were celebrating this. I mean, after all this time, we're still talking about a pivot and how he's going to become president. Anyway, Philip Rucker from the Washington Post tweeted, tonight is a new President Trump, acknowledging a flip-flop and talking about the gravity of office, history, and substance. Whenever they go to kill people and spend more defense contractor money, all of a sudden, that is the gravity of the office. Way to go, Donald J. Trump. 16 years of war is not enough. Give us another 16 years. And all of a sudden, the Washington Post, which has been savaging Donald Trump, turns around and goes, bravo, bravo. Now, he doesn't speak for all the Washington Post, to be fair, but he is a writer there. Now we're going to go to Fox News and Ed Henry. Ed Henry, keep in mind, is not one of their opinion hosts. He's supposed to be a straight news guy. And to be fair to him, this is what a lot of mainstream journalists do whenever there's war. But here he is, beside himself with joy about the new war that Trump is expanding. It's not the new war, it's the very, very old war that he is now expanding. Watch.
This is a president giving his first major foreign policy address. He's talking about war and peace, and he's talking about finally winning this war, by the way. Here's the bottom line, one word, leadership. He stepped up to the plate tonight. He had a rough week last week, and he said, I am going to show leadership. He admitted that basically this is a flip-flop. That's not easy for any president to do, especially this president who likes to show that he's tough, right? He said again and again, before he was running and when he was running, going back to at least 2011, get out. And he said, if I'm elected, I'm out. Enough with the money, enough with the lost lives, enough with the misadventure. But he said, look, I got behind that desk in the Oval Office, and I was elected to make tough decisions. This is a tough decision, but he kept using the other word, not just leadership, win. We're going to win. Big picture here. It was a leadership moment for him. He stepped up to the plate big time.
God, these guys on TV drive me crazy. Believe it or not, I use all my willpower to try to not call them stupid. Because look, come on, let's break it down. This is leadership, it's leadership. But wait a minute, it's leadership no matter what he does. If he decided to withdraw, that would have been a tough choice. And all the mainstream media would have been like, oh my God, what are you doing? All these people are gonna now be without our leadership in Afghanistan, without our guidance and counsel and our defense contractor making billions of dollars. How could you do this, right? But that would have been a tough choice and it would have been leadership. No matter what he decided, it's leadership. So saying that is a nonsensical talking point. And then he says, now remember, the important thing here, guys, is now we're going to be winning. Oh, are you kidding? I mean, is that a joke? We've been over there for 16 years. At the end of this troop edition, we're gonna have 12,000 troops there. Before we had 150,000 troops there. Obama had 100,000 troops there as well. So all those troops didn't lead to winning. Now the 12,000 is going to lead to winning? And Ed Henry, what the hell are you talking about? What does winning in Afghanistan mean? You've had 16 years to figure it out. And no one on TV can still tell us, or no one in government can tell us what winning means in Afghanistan. So for him to come out there and be like, oh my God, I am a straight news reporter on Fox, and I'm here to tell you, this president cares about winning. Oh, for Christ's sake. How silly, how preposterous. You didn't define it, you didn't say anything meaningful. Just like, way to go, Donald. Now we're going to be winning. That just makes you, I can't help it, I tried. But that makes you as stupid as Trump. Well, we're not gonna be losing anymore. It was a mess before, but now we're gonna be winning. Okay, so then Ed, I'll keep you to account on this as well. For every once in a while, we'll check back in and see if he's winning in Afghanistan with his great leadership. I've got a rock solid prediction. You could put it in stone, Ed. We're not gonna be winning a goddamn thing in Afghanistan. We tried for 16 years, and even then, none of our leaders defined what winning was. And we can try for another 16 years and we won't quote unquote win. They don't even know why they're fighting us and why we're fighting them. As I quoted earlier in the show, 92% of the people in Kandahar and Helmand, the two provinces where we do most of the fighting, have no idea what 9/11 is. They just say, you're in my valley, I fight you because you're in my valley. People every once in a while come into our valley and we fight them. So the longer we stay in their valleys, the longer they fight us. There is no winning that war. All these guys on TV with all their pomp and circumstance, just filled with nothing but vapid talking points. And God, they love them some war. Nothing they like more than endless war. It's sickening. All right, the rest of the stories that were supposed to be in the first hour, we're doing a new thing called Overtime. I'll give it to you online at the end of the show, including the Republican reaction. And James, and we have some original reporting. Jim Mattis, defense secretary, he used to work for one of the defense contractors who are now going to get rich off of Jim Mattis's new plan to spend more money in Afghanistan. So we'll tell you about that. We'll tell you about the fight for Medicare for all. TYTnetwork.com is where you can get the whole show. If you want to get all the show with no commercials anytime you want, then become a member, tytnetwork.com/join. But when we come back, Anna's gonna join us, and the first story is amazing, you gotta hear it. It's the Treasury Secretary's Marie Antoinette of a wife who is bragging about her designer clothes, and her reaction when called out on it is even worse. We'll tell you all about it when we come back. All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk and Anna with you guys. We have the fairest audience in the world. Do you know that, Anna?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay. Should
Keeping it real.
Should Trump be disqualified from the presidency for mental incompetence? We asked. TYTnetwork.com/25th. 49% yes, 51% no.
Should he be impeached?
No, disqualified from the presidency based on mental incompetence. That's the 25th Amendment. If someone is not,
how is that ruling fair? Why would we want a president who's mentally incompetent? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
No. Should he be disqualified from the presidency for mental incompetence? Is he incompetent enough that he should be removed from office?
The answer is yes.
Okay, well, you're in the 49% that says yes.
Yeah.
I'm in the 51% that says no. He's grossly incompetent, but not to the point of the 25th Amendment, which means you're basically comatose, I think. Anyway, so.
It's your interpretation.
All right, that's right,
amendment.
that's right. Anyway, and should you be kicked out of a college for going to the Charlottesville rally? 39% yes, 61% no. Most fair audience in the world. All right, Matt Odom tweets in, it's kind of like the first rule of physics. For every Trump statement, there is an opposite and equal tweet. That's really funny too, Matt. Oh, for Christ's sake, we're giving away t-shirts. Fine, Matt, you get a shirt. People laughed in the room, okay? I Am Sock says, I thought that peace was the end game of these wars, not whatever winning means. Peace. That's a good one, man. You almost made me LOL on that. All right, Anna, forward.
All right. Louise Linton, petty. That's what she is. And she proved it on social media recently. Now, if you're wondering who Linton is, she is actually the wife of Steve Mnuchin, Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary. And recently she was on a government plane on a trip to Kentucky and decided to brag about not only her travel, but the attire that she was sporting during the trip. And so she posts on Instagram a photo of herself getting off of the plane, and the caption says the following: great hashtag day trip to Kentucky, nicest people, beautiful countryside, and then a bunch of brands that I don't know, including Tom Ford Sunnies, Hermes scarf, Valentino rock stud heels, sounds very painful, Valentino, and then USA. Give USA a shout out, thank God. Okay, now.
Because nothing says USA as much as Hermes.
Is it Hermes or Hermes?
Hermes, I have no
It's too expensive. That's what it is. Anyway, so she posts a photo on Instagram, as I mentioned, and she got a little bit of backlash. One of the people who shared her criticism was Jenny Miller. She's a mother of 3 from Oregon. She responded with, quote, glad we could pay for your little getaway, hashtag deplorable. Now, Linton didn't like it, okay? And so she responded with the following comment. Aw, did you think this was a personal trip? Adorable. Do you think the US government paid for a honeymoon or personal travel? LOL. Have you given more to the economy than me and my husband? Either as an individual earner in taxes or in self-sacrifice to your country? What kind of self-sacrifice have you given to the country, Louise? Let me continue.
No, let's pause.
Okay.
Let's pause. I'm gonna be a bad guy in a second, but first, let's just do the easy stuff. So, I do declare, how adorable of you to not realize how much sacrifice we're giving to the country as I step in my Valentino studded heels into Kentucky. Okay, no, you can't brag about your service to the country as you just bragged about all of your designer clothes. It's so. The fact that you can't see that is unbelievable. But the thing that's a tiny thing compared to, you know how much we've given in taxes? Do you know how your husband made the money that he quote unquote earned?
Ooh, I do.
Okay, Anna, go ahead, let her know.
Okay, as you guys know, housing issues strike a nerve with me. And Steve Mnuchin and his group of billionaire investor cronies bought a failing bank in California known as IndyMac. Now, when they purchased IndyMac, they decided to rename it One West Bank, which continues to be a big bank in California, maybe other states as well. But what One West did was pretty terrible because it initiated over 40,000 foreclosures here in California. And court documents indicate that they did a lot of illegal things in order to speed up the foreclosure process on people who shouldn't have even been foreclosed on. So for instance, they did manage to foreclose on 36,000 homeowners in California. They refused to modify loans for people who qualified for those loan modifications, meaning, hey, we're having a tough time paying this mortgage based on the way that it's structured, but we qualify to restructure this loan so we can make our mortgage payments and keep our home. Well, One West Bank basically gave them the middle finger and refused to modify those loans. Okay, you might think, well, that's their prerogative. If they don't want to do it, that's fine. Well, let me continue. They also apparently told people that they were going to get extensions to pay their mortgages, and then literally a couple days later, they would foreclose on the homes or put it up for auction. They also illegally backdated documents to speed up the foreclosure process. So for instance, you're supposed to get 90 days to make your mortgage payment, right? Of course, you're gonna be late after 30, but you are given 90 days. After that, if you fail to pay your mortgage, you're given an additional 21 days before they can give you notice that they will put the home up for auction. And they purposely, illegally backdated documents to speed up the process, so people weren't given the time that they're legally supposed to be given before their homes get foreclosed.
But Anna, I don't think you're being fair. They were actually, you call it illegally backdating documents. I call it sacrificing for your country.
They did, they really did sacrifice for the country. I mean, I'm sure that Steve Mnuchin and his wife Louise really cared about all those homeowners who lost their homes in California. Nonetheless, deplorable was the accurate hashtag to use in response to Louise's post. Now, let me give you some more of her response to Jenny Miller. She said, I'm pretty sure we paid more in taxes toward our day trip than you did. Pretty sure the amount we sacrifice per year is a lot more than you'd be willing to sacrifice if the choice was yours. I mean, to be fair to Linton, she did sacrifice quite a bit to live the lifestyle that she lives. I mean, she did end up marrying Steve Mnuchin.
Damn, shots fired. Okay, so it's not your choice. Like, she makes the taxes seem like they're voluntarily paying it. I'm sure you wouldn't sacrifice like we have. Well, no, she wouldn't have a choice, and I would be shocked if your husband didn't use every loophole in the book to get out of taxes as much as possible. And you want to open up that can of worms? You sure he doesn't have any accounts in the Cayman Islands? Miss sacrifice for the country? So it doesn't matter. Look, they foreclosed on a house because a woman was what, 30, a grandmother was like 30 cents past due. She's trying to pay it, it's 30 cents.
She made a mistake when she paid her mortgage apparently and was short 30 something cents.
And Steve Mnuchin's company crushed her and took her house from her, right? A sacrifice for the country. And this woman walks out in all these fancy scarves that I don't even know how to pronounce, and the shoes with whatever's in them, and then all these bags and everything like that. She's like, oh, I'm so glamorous. I came to Kentucky, beautiful countryside. Look at all the things I'm wearing. You didn't pay as much taxes as I did. And Louise, let's get real, as you did?
So I have to give you one other portion of her response to this woman in Oregon. She said, you're adorably out of touch. Your life looks cute. Go chill out and watch the new Game of Thrones. It's fab. I just can't with these people. You're gonna accuse someone else of being out of touch. Now look, I get it. You know, you're gonna get criticism on social media. Sometimes it gets under your skin, it upsets you. I can understand that, but you're punching down. And to say that she's out of touch when you're the one bragging about your like $1,000 scarf or whatever it costs. I mean, come on.
You're letting in Kentucky, how many people in Kentucky can afford that scarf? So, and look, now I'm gonna be a little bit of a bad guy. You're gonna be shocked to find out that she's Steve Mnuchin's second wife. I actually was a little surprised. I was thinking third or fourth. And he's 54 and she's 36. She's an actress, but maybe she earned all those scarves and shoes with the acting career that she has.
She was on CSI New York.
Once. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure she made a lot of money and now she's independently wealthy.
Right, and I'm sure that she married Steve Mnuchin because he's such a looker. Or for other reasons, and
her life is so cute.
Oh, but your life in Oregon is so adorable. By the way, you think they were going to like the state fair in Kentucky or something? No, they were going to visit Fort Knox that holds our $200 billion in gold reserves. If you know Steve Mnuchin and his career, he's probably going to see, how can I get my hands on this? Adorbs.
She did have one more thing to say today, this afternoon. I don't know if you have the apology.
She did apologize. Go ahead, you can read it.
Yeah, I apologize for my post on social media yesterday, as well as my response. It was inappropriate and highly insensitive. In a statement.
Signed, Mnuchin Antoinette. In Kentucky. Well, if they can't have, I can't even, is it,
I don't know. I don't know. It's just,
okay,
I'm not
anyway,
interested.
Valentino.
Yeah.
If they get Hermes.
You guys know how it's been.
No, I swear to God I don't.
California, LA lives, you know.
No, that's super fair of you to call us out because I've seen it a million times. I've seen the name, a brand a million times and I pronounce it wrong every time. Which one, what is it?
I don't know, I think it's like.
Oh, you don't know either.
No, of course I don't know. No. Come on.
Anyway, let's stick with Valentino.
Hermes or Hermes.
Hermes. I bet you it's Hermes. Okay, so. Okay, now I lost track of what how I was gonna make. Why don't they wear, if they can't afford Hermes, why don't they wear Gucci instead?
Jake, you're adorably out of touch.
Oh my God, you're so cute with your little life in Oregon. Anyway.
By the way, life in Oregon sounds awesome.
I know, right?
Yeah. Anyway.
Sounds so much better than her life.
Yeah, it does.
Like, oh my God, I have all this fancy stuff. Who gives a shit? You're married to Steve Mnuchin, enjoy it. Okay, good luck. Anyway, yes.
All right, moving on to other news. Another woman has come forward with her allegations regarding abuse by R&B singer R. Kelly. Now, there have been several women who have come forward, family members of several women who have come forward alleging that he is abusive and preys on underage girls for sexual gratification. But this new case involves a woman who is a little different because of the fact that she was extremely young at the time that she had a relationship with R. Kelly. And she also took a lie detector test to prove that her allegations against him were in fact truthful. Now, let me give you the details. The woman here is Geronda Pace, and she was only 15 years old when she met R. Kelly. She said that through their sexual relationship, she was forced to call him daddy, and he would call me baby. He would want me, or he wanted me to have 2 pigtails, and I had to go out and find little schoolgirl outfits. Now, when he was being tried for a case involving a sex tape that was leaked to the media, sex tape featured a 14-year-old girl that he not only had sex with, but also urinated on. Geronda was a huge fan of R. Kelly's and actually lied about her age just to be able to go to the trial or court proceedings. And so in the beginning, she did lie to R. Kelly about her age, but then later on made it clear that she was only 16 years old when they were having this sexual relationship. He apparently made her sign some ridiculous documents claiming that she was admitting to stealing products and stealing property from him in order to kind of extort her and prevent her from going forward to the authorities. Now, several individuals with firsthand knowledge of the situation have supported Pace's claims. Additionally, BuzzFeed News, which actually broke this story, reviewed signed legal documents, drafts of settlements between Kelly and Pace, correspondence between Pace and the attorneys involved, a polygraph test performed at the request of her attorney regarding her relationship with Kelly, a probate court document opening an estate for Pace as a result of a civil settlement, and a subsequent payment made by Kelly's management company to Pace. Now, this relationship happened in the early 2000s, and the reason why she settled was because she came across an attorney who had settled other cases involving women who made these allegations against R. Kelly. That lawyer's name was Susan E. Logans. And she wanted to settle. She didn't want to open a criminal case. She didn't want to go ahead and prosecute him. She thought that the right way to go about things was to settle and get as much money as possible.
The attorney did.
The attorney did. And remember, Pace at the time was incredibly young and also scared. And so she just thought, okay, well, if this is my only option, then I guess I'm going to go with that. And so she signed non-disclosure agreements as part of this settlement. And even though she knows she's gonna face some possible legal ramifications, she's decided to break her silence because she thinks it's important to share her story and what she went through.
So let's break down some of the worst elements of this. So R. Kelly, in the middle of that disastrous trial, where there was videotape of him not only having sex with a 14-year-old, but urinating in her mouth.
Oh, God.
Spots another underage girl at the trial who's a fan, has one of his friends reach out to her on social media, invite her to a party. He signs an autograph for her earlier during the trial. He's already scoping her out in the middle of the trial where he could have gotten 15 years. He gets acquitted. By the way, that sends a message to her later, the new girl, like, hey, if I come forward and I do a criminal trial, he got acquitted last time, he might get acquitted this time.
Right, and the reason why he got acquitted is because there was some doubt regarding the girl in the tape, right? So all you need to do is plant a seed of doubt among the members of the jury. And so if it's not 100% certain that that 14-year-old girl was the girl in question, well then he'll get acquitted, and that's exactly what happened.
And when she was young, and she was 15 originally during the trial, and then 16 when her and R. Kelly started having sex, she believed him, and she thought, well, she didn't testify, so it probably wasn't her. You know what happened? She later saw that same girl at another R. Kelly party after the trial, which is amazing.
I know,
okay?
It is.
So it gets more amazing. Then R. Kelly starts introducing her to other girls that he wants her to have threesomes with. And one of them was the best friend of the girl that the trial was about. So those two girls had gone into R. Kelly, and one of them, the best friend, stayed with him all the way throughout and is now alleged to still be with him, okay, in his house, where they're saying that it's a cult. And this woman who came forward, Geronda, says it is a cult. She says it reminds me of Charles Manson. And so one of the things that he would do is threats. So I made you sign this paper, and remember, she's signing it when she's 16. Doesn't know what the hell is going on in the world.
Yep.
She there says that she stole jewelry and cash from him, as Anna alluded to, and that her parents are trying to blackmail him. He has her sign that first so he could use it against her.
Exactly, yeah.
And again, in the beginning, she says she was 19, but later, after they had sex, she said, no, I gotta be honest with you, I'm 16, and the legal age of consent in Illinois is 17, so I'm under the age of consent. And R. Kelly said that's totally, according to her, it's totally fine. Keep pretending you're 19 if anyone asks, and try to act like you're 25.
So,
but not during sex. There you call me daddy and I call you baby.
So what I thought was fascinating about this case was that a polygraph test was included, and the results of the polygraph indicated that she was being truthful in her answers. And among the questions asked was, were you honest about your age at the time that you said that you fessed up about your actual age? And she said yes. Polygraph test indicated that that was the truth. They also asked, let me actually go to the results. So it was 4 questions, graphic 21. 4 questions that Pace was asked, including whether she had intercourse with Kelly, if she had told him she was 16, and whether he slapped, choked, and spit on her during an argument. She answered yes to all questions. According to the person who conducted the polygraph test, he said, it is the opinion of the examiner, based upon an analysis of her polygraph records, that she is truthful in her answers.
She said that she also gave R. Kelly her state ID. So it wasn't even like, oh, well, I didn't believe her that she was 16, I thought she was older. No, she gave the ID, and he's like, oh, good, you're underage, perfect. Right? I don't know that he said those exact words. And certainly acted that way. And then it's not just a polygraph test. She has all the documents that she signed, and including the non-disclosure agreement, all the things that R. Kelly made her sign, and she has the checks that they paid her. Good night, Irene. I mean, whether that then gets turned into a criminal case, I don't know if the statute of limitations is done yet for her cases. What other actions will flow from that? we'll see. He is incredibly rich, and he might yet win again in all these allegations. But in terms of the reporting on this, it appears to be rock solid.
Yeah, so we'll see how this develops, but I mean, she doesn't have much to gain from coming forward. In fact, she has a lot to lose because of the fact that she signed those non-disclosure forms. And it seems like she does have a lot of evidence against him, but who knows if that evidence will amount to, a criminal trial where he'll get prosecuted and convicted.
Okay, real quick, last things here. She says he did the things that the others alleged in an earlier report from BuzzFeed as well. He would take her phone away. And he would say, you need to get permission before you go to the bathroom, before you eat. And once he caught her texting with a friend and he beat her, that's where the beating, the punching, and the spitting comes from. And she was truthful about that, according to the polygraph. And he would record their sex. That guy, somewhere, he's got a treasure trove of tapes, meaning a treasure trove of evidence that prosecutors can use. And last time he had the excuse of, oh, you can't quite tell one of the girls on the tape. Now, apparently, if these reports are to be believed, and they appear to be excellent reporting, there's a lot of tapes of a lot of girls. God knows how many of them are underage. So, and apparently he is under investigation. Go, grab those tapes before he destroys them. And the way that she was mentally and physically abused, according to her allegations, is gross, let alone the underage sex, which is horrific.
All right, we gotta take a quick break. When we come back, some more news for you, including an update on just how many people get arrested for simple pot possession in New York.
Complex subject. Nobody knew that healthcare could be so complicated.
You said I had small hands. They're not small, huh? I never heard that one before.
I got a bunch of things to go through. No Republican would have ever voted for Bernie. He would have done worse than Hillary Clinton.
They're so miserable. All right, I'm gonna stop myself before I say things that are offensive.
If I ran for office, and that would be a trippy day, right? I'd break even more rules than Trump. If I had all the money in the world, I would enjoy that.
We have a great show for you. Steve's answer is C, Dave's is A, and the correct answer is, of course, B. You guys are the worst. Here's the story, and it's not funny. Steve is over too.
It seems just comically unfair and ridiculous. The
This
Democratic
way.
Party just sucks right now. It just sucks because it doesn't know what it stands for.
We should probably wrap it up.
Back on the Young Turks, and I have a lot of things to tell you. First of all, Simon from YouTube Super Chat writes in, use investment for TYT Europe, a European Union of the people, not of corporations. Okay, well, I like that pitch, thank you. And then I have members of the day for you. They are Pam Chewy and Tobert Feather. What a great name. Okay, thank you guys for being members. tytnetwork.com/join to become a member. We got a great post game for you today. Old School tomorrow with a special guest. Interesting, aggressive, progressive later in the week, of course. And now some tweets, including breaking news. Rich Crab says, my Oregon life is great. The 4 legal cannabis plants I'm growing to make it possible to enjoy being out of touch.
Yes. Yes.
That's right. And breaking news from the Hill. I don't know if it's in my tweets. I don't know if they did hashtag TYT Live, which would be awesome. They have tweeted us before in the middle of interviews. Anyway, just in, Trump Justice Department drops request for identifying information of visitors to anti-Trump website, which is awesome, okay? So in case you don't remember that story, they arrested 200 people during inauguration, and they said, oh, they organized on this website. So I want the information of 1.3 million people who went to protest Trump and used that website. And so now the Justice Department, after taking so much heat from it on the Young Turks, decided, yeah, okay, that was a bridge too far, forget it.
Yeah.
So that was a huge win for America and for our system of government. So that's wonderful news. One more good news, and this is about us. The Streamiest nominations came out this morning. Pop Trigger nominated for nonfiction's best nonfiction series, specifically for Murder with Friends. Now, what do we tell you guys? We told you Murder with Friends is a great series, right?
It is.
Now, luckily, if you're members, you can watch it anytime you want, tytnetwork.com/join. Another nomination, Young Turks for Best News and Culture Show. Sorry. Hold. One more nomination, Young Turks for Show of the Year.
What does that even mean, show of the year?
That means
like there's like a billion different types of shows.
That's right.
That doesn't. That's like saying, like putting Insecure from HBO and Game of Thrones in the same category. That doesn't make any sense.
No. No, I love that category. Are you kidding me?
It's too broad.
This is the second time we've been nominated for Show of the Year. It means of all the fucking shows on the planet, there's 5 that they think are the best online, period, okay?
Yeah, it's a fan-nominated category though, right?
No, you get, I mean, I gotta look into it more.
Yeah.
Look at this investigative
Why am
report
I being so,
why are you being
fan-voted category, there we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's awesome. You know what that means? Hashtag too strong.
Yeah, TYT Army is always too strong. Like, that's not a surprise, you guys are awesome.
You're getting like too, like, oh please, I do declare, okay.
I just feel
Isn't it adorable that the other shows try?
No, that's not what I mean. I'm just saying it's like too broad.
You're crazy. Look, you know what that means? That means our fans are better than the fans of almost every other show on the planet.
I'm not evaluating the fans. The fans are freaking awesome. I'm just saying the category is too broad, but it's okay. It's okay, fine.
Okay,
I'll take it.
Hashtag too broad. Okay, all right, we go for it.
All right. New York's Bill de Blasio claimed that he was gonna fight tooth and nail to stop the unfair arrests of people who have simple marijuana possession. Well, even though Ann Coulter believes that people don't get arrested for marijuana possession, it turns out that even in places like New York, if you do get caught with possession and happen to be a minority, you are likely to get arrested. Let me give you the details. This is based on data by the Legal Aid Society, and it shows that just a 3.9 decrease in marijuana arrests have happened since the beginning of 2016. So there has been a slight decrease, but keep in mind that they've handled 5,934 marijuana cases involving misdemeanor charges and violations since the start of 2017 alone. That's compared to 6,180 during the same period last year in 2016. Now, in New York, there have been a total of 9,968 arrests for marijuana possession this year.
What? No, I don't get
this year.
But I don't understand, Anna, because
this year,
in the debate you had with Ann Coulter, she said there were none in the country.
No one gets arrested for
ever.
marijuana. No.
Okay.
Anyway, I think that it's least surprising that the overwhelming majority of these arrests happen in minority communities, even though data and statistics indicate that white individuals use marijuana at similar rates as minorities do. Arrests climbed 30% during the 6-month period between 2015 and 2016, with white people making up less than 10% of those arrests, just to give you an idea of how minorities are disproportionately impacted by these ridiculous draconian laws.
Okay, look, there's plenty of minorities in New York City, so yes, take that into account. There's also a tremendous number of white people in Manhattan because no one else can afford the apartments there. So de Blasio, he's way too liberal and stuff. No, I know, and to be fair to him, it takes a long time to fix the culture in things like the NYPD, okay? Having said that, look, here's one thing you could do as mayor, and again, it would cause a ruckus and people would lose their minds, but it gives you a sense of how unfair the system is today. If I'm mayor of New York City, I go, oh, you know what? I'm gonna do random spot checks, stop and frisk at Wall Street. You think I'm not gonna catch a ton of cocaine, marijuana, let alone all the other drugs?
Yeah.
All right, lock them up. Let's go, handcuffs. Then I'm gonna go to Park Avenue, see what they're up to over there. Then I'm gonna go to Midtown and see what they're up to. And I'm gonna go all around the city. Now, if you did that, you wouldn't have 10% whites. You'd have probably whatever the proportion of New York City is, because we know for a fact that black people and white people smoke marijuana at about the same rate all across the country, but they choose not to do that.
Right, and also, look, de Blasio's spokespeople responded with, look, de Blasio said that marijuana arrests would decrease, and they have decreased a little over 3%, and summonses have gone up 2%. So people are getting summoned rather than getting arrested. But here's the thing, I don't care if you're black, don't care if you're white, don't care if you're Asian, don't care if you're a freaking lizard person. I don't want anyone to be arrested or have to deal with a summons because of simple marijuana possession. I don't care, I don't want any taxpayer money going towards something that stupid. It's just such a waste of resources. By the way, a summons is just as bad, not just as bad. I mean, when you're talking about the legal ramifications, it's not as bad, but it's still a waste of resources.
And look, guys, we're not unrealistic about this. I worked as a prosecutor during the summers when I was an intern at the Southern District of New York, and we got briefings on where the drug transactions happen most. And so this is 20 years ago, it's no longer relevant. I don't know if it's the same spots or not, but I know the spots that had happened, and I know that they were minority areas. So I know that there's not a huge drug trade going on in the middle of the Upper East Side, for example. But that doesn't mean people aren't smoking pot or using drugs on the Upper East Side. And that doesn't mean that drugs aren't being sold on Wall Street, but in more informal ways instead of a guy sitting in the corner. So we're not being naive or we don't have rose-colored glasses on here. And I know that some of the times when they arrest people for possession or convict them, certainly on arresting is different, but on conviction it's because they took a plea and instead of drug dealing, they got drug possession for their conviction. I know all that. Nonetheless, it is still overwhelmingly disproportionate. Not because, hey, you know what, I want white people to be arrested more. Two, I'm with Anna, I don't want anybody arrested for marijuana possession. I think it should be legal. But if you're going around arresting all the minorities, right, and going and doing all this effort to make sure you do thousands of arrests in their neighborhoods, and then you don't touch the other neighborhoods at all, You don't do any stop and frisk. You don't find out if they're selling drugs on Wall Street. I got news for you, they're selling drugs on Wall Street. Are you insane? Have you, like, any book that has ever been written, any article about Wall Street and about what happens internally, cocaine, 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 cocaine. Yeah. But there's never any bust, there's never any big sting operations, because if you did that, a lot of people that are powerful are gonna get pissed. And even de Blasio's not doing it.
Right.
They think he's too progressive. Right. Wait till they should have a real progressive mayor. Go actually do some, whatever you're gonna do, if you're gonna do anything, do it proportionately and then watch them howl. Because you know what? If you arrested powerful people, again, put aside race for a second, rich, powerful people at the same rate that you arrest poor, powerless people, we'd get rid of the war on drugs immediately. Because the minute you start locking up judges and bankers and lawyers, they say, what? This war on drugs is outrageous. I was just getting high. Exactly.
All right, speaking of getting high, German police have arrested 2 individuals in connection to ecstasy pills that are shaped to appear like Donald Trump's head. Awesome. These ecstasy pills are also orange, which is a fitting color. Now, these 2 Austrians were arrested after police pulled 5 bags filled to the brim with carrot-colored ecstasy pills made in the likeness of President Trump. Now, the fear of ecstasy pills or MDMA on the streets is that it is unregulated, you don't know what it's cut with, and it could lead to severe health ramifications, possibly even brain damage. I will tell you right now that anything shaped in the head of Donald Trump is likely to give you some sort of brain damage. Police found 5,000 pills, saying that they had a street value of around $45,800.
So look, if I'm gonna take ecstasy, okay.
Don't do it. No, I mean, if you want to take ecstasy, I don't care, but don't take this ecstasy.
No, first of all, this is why you should legalize drugs, because whether you take ecstasy or not should be your choice, especially if you live in a free country. And you should know what's in it, so you know that somebody didn't poison you. I'm not gonna take X off the streets of wherever in the shape of Trump's head. Right. I'm not gonna do that, right? So on the other hand, people who do take a lot of X, you might protect them from something that's really dangerous, or you might make it uncool because they gotta go to a government building to buy it.
Right.
So, but if you were gonna take X and you wanna go crazy, taking a Trump pill seems to make some sense. It'll make you crazy.
No.
See what I'm saying?
Just don't do it. Can you, like, let's think about Trump EDM music. Like, wrong, sad. Oh my God, that's what the raving battles would be like, right?
Yeah. Okay. No, are you kidding me? I already kind of want to take it.
No, don't take it. Okay. Don't take it. It's a bad idea. And if you do come across this type of drug on the streets, there are testing kits to test how pure they are. Please don't take them off the streets. And if you do, again, test them and make sure that they're safe.
Imagine me on that. Like, you guys are a mess. You're not winning. I'm winning. I'm gonna be winning from now on. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take this pill until your head spins. It's gonna make your head spin. It's gonna be amazing. What would it be like to have nothing in your head at all? If you're like Trump, you might find out.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the exact consequence of the pill or not, but it's an interesting idea. And I think that if people are in the mood for drugs and in the mood to lose their minds and they see Trump, they think, perfect. That's the perfect way to lose your mind.
If you're interested in swallowing Trump, please, by all means. Gross.
Good counterpoint. Touche. Okay. All right, guys, we're out of time. I do have a overtime segment for you guys where we've got 3 different stories for you guys, including the Republican reaction to Trump's Afghanistan speech, and Jim Mattis's conflict of interest that no one else is talking about. Well, but we broke on the Young Turks, Medicare for all that. We got a post game coming up for your members. tytnetwork.com/join to get all of the show commercial free, all of the network shows anytime you want. Bye-bye.